During the 1700s, courageous explorers took to the perilous seas in wooden ships in search of new territories and greater wealth. Brave men risked their lives hoping to make new discoveries and settlements. So it came about that in 1788, the first fleet landed on the east coast of Australia.
2.5 centuries later.
Hey Russ, are you in for a surf today? Whoa, what's up? You look sad and gloomy. Have you lost a cricket or something?
No, Jackie, it's something far worse than that.
What could be worse than that? Have you lost a soccer or footy?
It's something I just found out about my family. It's so embarrassing. I'll tell you a secret if you promise not to tell anyone.
It must be pretty serious for you to have a secret. Come on, Russ. You can tell your old mate Jackie. What are friends for?
Okay, I'll tell you. No one else. My mom's been looking into our family tree and guess what she found?
What? That you're related to Queen Victoria or some other royalty? Mate, that would be sick.
My great-great-great-grandfather was a convict, and so was his mother. Convicts are criminals, right? So now you know.
Convicts. That's even better than criminals. Cool. Interesting characters with daring and dangerous past. That's what I like. A pirate would be even better. Just think. A parrot on one shoulder, a hook for a hand, a wooden leg. Told me.
Shush, I warned you, Jackie. Don't you dare.
Don't you dare tell us what? You must tell us now. Russ, you said not to tell anyone. Kylie and Mel, not just anyone. They're your mates, just like me. It's no biggie. Tell us. Rusty's found out that his ancestors were convicts. Cool.
Shame, Jackie. I'll never tell you anything again, you blabbermouth.
My mum and dad looked up our family tree too and found out that my ancestors were some of the first Chinese gold miners to come to New South Wales. Wow, that was such a huge risk to take. Were they despised by the miners? It was tough for them. We don't need the likes of you around here, taking our gold and sending it back to China. Thieving foreigners. Go home. Get. 蓝儿子，如果你努力工作，你会发现更多的黄金。回到英格兰。Which translates to lazy Aussie. If you work harder, you'll find more gold. Go back to England.
The new Australians couldn't accept the Chinese because they looked different, had a different culture and religion, spoke a foreign language, and worked harder. They felt that the Chinese miners were a real threat to them.
Aha! I cut off his plant! That made a big fuss about coming here. And that is the exactly kind of thing that happened in those early days. The Chinese miners suffered great humiliation at the hands of the white settlers.
That's sad, Mel, but the earlies were not criminals.
Don't feel bad about your family, Rusty. That was centuries ago. You're not a criminal.
Many people from England were sent to Australia on convict ships for minor crimes such as stealing a loaf of bread or even a handkerchief. Those were terrible dark times during the Industrial Revolution. People were so poor that they were forced to do desperate things for their families.
Young children, aged from as young as 4 or 5, were sent down to work in the coal mines, were used as chimney sweeps, or were sent to depressing workhouses, where they did hard labor and were given scraps to eat.
Now back in time to England in the 1780s.
Naughty little scoundrel get to.
Hey guys, these little sewer rats run around the streets rubbing beneath the people.
He stole an apple, blimey, gulped it down with one gulp, took to his heels like a rabbit when he started coming.
You better catch him before he gets out of court.
Got ya, you little thief. What's your name?
Barney, you out with it, lad.
Don't waste your time. He probably doesn't know. He could be an orphan as a person next to him.
Where are your mum and dad? Your papa died. I live with my mom.
What wished to?
Stop! Thief, you gotta pay for that bread! Get back here! Thief! Stop her!
Hello. What have we got here? Caught you around a bitch and loaf of bread, are we? Run, Mom, run! Barney?
Got ya. So this is your mom. It's up to you to get prison with your missus, and you get the privilege of joining her and the bachelor.
I hear they'll soon be sending the likes of you off to that God-forsaken country, Australia. 7 years hard labor should fix you.
Please let us go. My boy is gonna starve. These are hard times. I can't get no work. My husband is dead. Have a heart, have the bread. It was all a mistake. I ain't never thief before.
Where's Australia? Is it the countryside?
Ha, boy thinks you'll be having a nice holiday in the countryside. No, boy, you'll be on one of those rat-infested convict ships headed to the other side of the world.
If they make it there alive.
Meanwhile, back to the 21st century in Australia.
What a harsh punishment. That wasn't fair. Your relatives must have been really brave.
My mom said that my great-great-great-grandfather's name was Barney Bean. He was sent out here with his ma because she stole a loaf of bread. When they got to Australia, his ma soon died, and he was adopted by the Reverend Johnson, who later built the first church in Australia. When Barney was 12, he went to work on a whaling ship to try and make his fortune. He had to climb the tall mast to spot for whales, even in terrible storms.
How cool! That's so adventurous. Barney Bean. Wow, I'd love to have been on one of those sailing ships. You see them all the time at the Maritime Museum. Huge sails, high masts, massive rigging, cannons.
Unfortunately, it wasn't exciting at all. In fact, it was a nightmare, a matter of life or death. Australia was built on the whaling industry. Whales were killed for their oil, which sold for a very high price.
My mom said that a quarter of the whaling ship's crew would die on every journey, and many convicts died on the convict ships. It was really dangerous.
Danger's my middle name. The convicts were locked below deck like animals, living in filthy conditions. They were given very little to eat, most of the food was stale and was cooked up into a foul soup. The crew and passengers were seasick for most of the journey.
Can you imagine being locked in the dark stink of a ship? Going to the toilet in a bucket, with that same bucket being rinsed in the sea and reused to serve your dinner? Having rats run all over you when you were sleeping, and fleas crawling on your head? Yuck! Many of them lost their teeth, hair, and had scurvy.
Stop! This is making me feel sick. Rusty, did your great-great-great-grandfather Barney spot many whales? Did he become rich?
I believe he did spot whales. After he saw the first one being killed, he got off the boat as soon as he could. He became a farmer after that.
The convicts were forced to clear the dry, harsh land and plant crops. It was trial and error. They built roads, basic huts, and fancy houses for the wealthy settlers.
The newly arrived free settlers waited patiently for ships to arrive from England with mails, tools, supplies, and little luxuries to remind them of home.
How blessed are we?
Yeah, my great-great-grandfather, Barnaby, and met Elsie, who became my great-great-grandmother in the colony. They were both adopted by the Reverend Johnson, who taught them about Jesus. I think that's one of the reasons why my family is Christians today.
We are blessed that we can know Jesus and can have eternal life. We are also blessed with our homes, cars, schools, shops, toys, and wealth.
When you put it that way, it starts me thinking of how spoiled we all are in our generation. Thanks, Russ. Buddy, for letting us into your secret.
Whoa, Jackie, I didn't let everyone into my secret. You did.
I'm so thankful for my ancestors for doing the hard yards, yet sticking it out to make a way for me. By the way, Kylie, who are your ancestors?
I thought you'd never ask. My family were descended from Sir Henry Parkes, the first Premier of the colony of New South Wales.
Ooh, fancy. Hey, I think I remember learning something about him in school. Didn't he give a really long and boring speech that was kind of important?
The great question which we have to consider is whether the time has not now arisen for the creation of this Australian continent, of an Australian government and an Australian parliament.
Yes, Jackie, he gave a really important speech. His work helped the Australian colonies become one nation with one federal government. Sir Henry Parkes was famously known as the father of federation.
That was important.
Ooh, la-dee-da, the fortunate upper classes.
Anyway, no matter who they were, coming to Australia in those days was tough. Thanks, guys, for helping me see that I shouldn't be embarrassed about my family history. I should actually be proud.
Thank God we were born in this generation. We shouldn't take our blessings for granted.
Who's coming to the beach to celebrate our freedom? Surf's up! So the four friends head to the beach, reflecting on how blessed they are, reaping what they did not sow.
But wait!